Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Just a reminder to turn off or silence all cell phones, electronic devices, please. This is a hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Thorold for Thursday, September 21st, 2023. Everyone present will be given an opportunity to speak for or against the applications being heard. When given a chance to speak, you will have only 5 minutes, so please make sure to be as clear and consistent as possible. For your information, Committee of Adjustment is a public process. Personal information such as the applicant's name and property address, which is reported at a Committee of Adjustment meeting, is public information. Minutes of this Committee of Adjustment meeting will be received by Thorold City Council at a public council meeting and become part of the public record. Please address all your comments and questions through the chair. A copy of the decision will be sent to the applicant or agent or to any person who files a written request. Please write your name, address, and the file you are here for in the Zoom text box or on the piece of paper located in the council chambers. Agencies commenting on applications may request that certain conditions be imposed. Voicing objections to these conditions will not adversely affect the committee's decision. The Committee of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial body operating under the Planning Act, the Municipal Act, and the Statutory Powers Procedure Act, as well as various provincial regulations. Sections 45 and 50 of the Planning Act outline the circumstances surrounding the approval of minor variances and controlling the conveyance of land in Ontario and the prevention of subdivision of land except with governmental approval. The applicant, the minister, or any specified person or public body who has an interest in the matter may, within 20 days of the making of the minor variance decision, 20 days from the date of mailing of consent decision, appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Would the deputy clerk please read the land acknowledgement?
Yes. The city of Thorold is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hadewanderunk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The city of Thorold stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live.
Thank you. Does any member of this panel have a pecuniary interest in any of the applications to be considered at this hearing?
No, Mr. Chair.
I see none. May I have a motion from the committee the agenda be adopted as presented? Mr. DeAngela, seconded. Mr. Jackson? Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. We have a motion that the minutes from May till June be adopted as presented. Mr. DiPaolo, seconded. Mr. Pizzo, thank you. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Mr.
I just
DiPaolo.
wanted to clarify the adoption of the minutes was from last month's, I believe.
Yeah,
Just to confirm.
thank you.
Okay.
Secretary Treasurer was noticed as required by the Planning Act given.
Yes, sir, it was.
Are there any requests for withdrawal or adjournment?
No, sir, they're not.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you have something? It's circulation. Nicolette, are you with us? For the
Good morning. Yes, I am here virtually. If you can see me now.
We can, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay,
77
So-
Turner Road.
that's right. 1777 Turner Road. The first item on the agenda today is an application for a minor variance to permit increased building height from 4.5 meters to 7 meters for an accessory structure. The lands are in the A agricultural zone under bylaw 60-2019. A residential dwelling exists on the property currently, and as mentioned, the accessory structure is requesting additional height. Accessory structures are permitted in the agricultural A zone, and all other requirements of the zoning bylaw are being met. Per the location map, the lands are located on the south side of Turner Road, west of the Welland Canal. They comprise approximately 8,880 meters square of lot area with 72 meters of frontage. The proposed accessory structure is intended to be located to the rear yard. All other requirements of the zoning bylaw are being maintained. Just running through the 4 tests of a minor variance. Is the general intent and purpose of the official plan being maintained? In my opinion, the property is designated as agricultural within the city's official plan. Accessory structures are permitted. It is simply a request for additional height so they can have storage area in a mezzanine type location. Therefore, staff is of the opinion that the requested minor variance maintains the general intent of the official plan. Is the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw being maintained? The property is zoned agriculture in the city of Thorold's zoning bylaw. The agricultural zone does permit accessory structures. However, a maximum height of 4.5 meters is permitted, and the applicant has requested 7 meters. It is the opinion that the increased height does not compromise the agricultural uses and is well removed from the existing residence. Therefore, the intent of the bylaw is being maintained. Is the variance appropriate for the development of the land? There is currently a residential dwelling on the property, and the accessory structure will be constructed approximately 100 meters to the rear of the existing dwelling. The additional height is in keeping with the design and scale of the main dwelling and the rural nature of the property, and accordingly, staff is of the opinion that the requested variance is appropriate for the development of the land. Is the variance minor? The structure is in keeping with the size and scale of the rural property and the existing main dwelling and does not compromise this or other agricultural properties in the area. Accordingly, staff is of the opinion that the requested variance is minor. It is therefore that we recommend approval of the minor variance to permit an accessory structure with a height of 7 meters rather than 4.5 meters. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicolette. Are you going to speak, Nicolette, back to you? Are you going to speak to the stage 1 archaeological assessment? Requested?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. We did have some further discussions with the region. We've determined, there's still a bit of a, back and forth, but however, we've determined that because the accessory structure is permitted, so basically the foundation is permitted as of right, it is only the minor variance that is triggering this request for the archaeological. We feel it's kind of an excessive requirement for something that would otherwise be permitted. So it is our opinion that an archaeological investigation is not required.
What does the region say to that?
Oops, my apologies, through you, Mr. Chair. The region would prefer to see the archaeological investigation. However, they also concur that it seems onerous to request this for an accessory structure that is otherwise permitted. It's just something that they can request. They are, that they can request because it is now triggered by a Planning Act application. However, they've left it in our hands to decide what the city wants to do.
Thank you. Who speaks to this application, please? If you could approach the podium or come. You could identify yourself and yes, right to the microphone so the old guys up here can hear you.
James Mathewson.
Welcome, James. Go
Thank you.
ahead.
What's the question, sir?
Have anything to add to the report?
Nothing, just that we're requesting a minor variance.
Okay, thanks, James.
Thank you.
Members of the committee. Mr. D'Angelo.
just to get clarity from the comments of the region, sort of contradictory here. When I'm looking at their comments on page 4, it says the accessory building does not contain any, they don't object. And then they say, and then they have 4 points. Point 3 is that the accessory building does not contain any plumbing or living spaces. But then point 4 says that the new sewage system be installed to service the accessory building, which meets all the requirements of the building code. So are they asking for a new sewage system to be installed for this building that doesn't have any plumbing?
I think that's a good question. Nicolette?
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you. My understanding is that the sewage system is existing. They do have a permit for that when they built the existing dwelling. And that just because they're connecting for a sink in the accessory structure, that they're connecting to the existing water facilities and sewage and private sewage services. So it's not a new system, but they are connecting to it.
Okay.
If that helps.
I don't have an issue. I'm supporting the document, but it just says that the accessory building does not contain any plumbing. So if you have no plumbing, how can you put a sink or anything like that?
I
So
think that's a legitimate question.
yeah, so I know it's the regional comment, so I guess we're just gonna bypass those comments and just support the recommendation. So if there's no further questions, I will put a motion on the floor, Mr. Mayor.
You can put a motion, then we can see if there's any further questions.
I'll put a motion then.
Sure.
I make a motion that application D13-23-2023 be approved based on the review of the pertinent information and comments presented at this hearing, having conducted a site visit and for the reasons stated in the planning report.
Do we have a seconder for that motion, please? Mr. Daniels. Further questions or comments? Seeing none? All in favor of the motion? Thank you. Nicolette? D1009-2023. 8 and 8A Claremont Street, please.
Yes, in this case, an application has been submitted for a consent for the purposes of severing one lot containing an existing commercial development. The consent application is to sever the lands having 9.58 meters of frontage and 779 square meters. We are recommending approval subject to the conditions listed in the report. The lands are located in the north side of Claremont Street between Front Street South and Ormond Street South. The retained parcel, as shown on the severance sketch prepared by Chambers and Associates, contains an existing commercial building, an access driveway, and affiliated parking that is intended to remain. The newly created lot is currently developed also with a commercial building and separate access driveways with surface parking spaces to the rear of the building. In other words, both buildings function unto themselves as is the current situation. The property was previously applied for consent to sever, however, the conditions lapsed and remain unfulfilled. Therefore, the new application was submitted. The lands are within the City of Thorold official plan designation as downtown and within the downtown Thorold community improvement area. The proposals for the creation of the new lots is simply to allow for separate ownership. No minor variances are being requested as part of this application. And we have received no comments from outside agencies except Bell, which did request an easement, but typically we don't create easements for Bell through the City of Thorold. So this is something that we typically don't do in the past. It's an existing situation, nothing is changing. And engineering department also requested that separate services be confirmed by the owner, so we've included that as a condition of the consent. So it will be up to the owner to confirm that the existing water and sewer services are separate. Other than that, we have no concerns and recommend approval of the consent as applied for. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicolette. Who speaks on behalf of this application, please? If you could identify yourself.
Hi, John Maletta.
Welcome. Do you have anything to add to the report?
No, it's straightforward. Like I said, it had been approved in the past. The time my tenant indicated he wanted to purchase the building as is. Didn't follow through on that, and I didn't follow through on this. And now I'm at the stage of doing some family planning. So I thought I would separate the two. I do ask to review recommendation 5 with the 2% value of the lot. Previous time that was waived simply because nothing needs to be done. Everything is basically is 2 addresses already. It's just a matter of making it formal. So that's my only comment.
Nicolette, go ahead.
Yes, regarding the 2%, it is something that we do kind of ask for across the board. It is, you know, it's something that we can ask for as part of the Planning Act application. But in this instance, I can see why it's an existing situation. There's no new development being proposed. So it is something that is a little bit variable, and basically I'll leave it up to the committee to make that final call. But it's one of those situations where, and we've dealt with this before. It's an existing situation. The buildings are in existence. It's just a change of ownership. So perhaps it's something that could be waived in this instance.
Committee member Pizzo.
Chairman, I have a problem with this 2%. Well, I'd like to make it all. I have a problem with this 2%. So I'm going to put it on the floor that application D10-09-2023 8 a.m. Number 5, 2% be waived, and I approve the motion.
Mr. Chair, since there's going to be Mr. Chair, through you, since there's going to be a change to the motion, what I would suggest is putting the original on the floor first. And then we can
Wherever way you want to do it, I have a problem with the 2%.
okay.
There's nothing new.
Finish your thought,
nothing new
Nicholas.
here. And Nicolette even said there's nothing new.
I just have to change this here so that you can see what's being proposed.
Could we not make a motion omitting number 5?
That's my motion. Admit number 5.
Okay, so just to be clear, that's what it would look like. There's the conditions listed in the report with number 5 crossed out as the
That's the motion. Do
amended motion.
we have a seconder for that motion? Mr. D'Angelo?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'll second that motion, and based on the information that's been presented, and because there is no new lot being created, it's just a severance of the properties. I fully support the removal of the 2% because we're not adding any additional services or anything else that's going to be impacted where the 2% goes to. So I'm quite
Great.
comfortable supporting
Great.
this.
Further questions or comments? We understand, Mr. DiPaolo.
Maybe through you, Chair, to Nicolette. Nicolette, the 2% is an interesting situation here, and I'd like to understand a little bit. Number one, did the payment for the previous severance get paid, and did all those fees get paid, and then it just lapsed, or none of that happens? None of that happens.
Through you, Mr. Chair, my understanding is that none of the conditions were not satisfied, and I am not aware of whether there was a request for a 2%.
That time, I'm just asking, at that time, would there have been a 2%?
No, but it probably, way back when the buildings were created, there could have been a 2% you know, as the downtown was being developed. So it is something that's probably a duplication in this instance, because it would have been possibly required when the original buildings were created. But we don't have a record of that, so I'm not certain about that either.
Okay, my question is just for information, not that I'm objecting to the motion that's currently in front of us. I just want to make sure there's some clarity. The 2% for me is interesting because sometimes I see a different number there. Sometimes I see 5%. So
Correct.
can somebody explain to me the range, the variability of that?
2% is applies to commercial lands and 5% applies to residential lands. Residential lands are deemed to be, it's for parkland purposes. So residential lands are deemed to be, have a higher demand for parkland, whereas commercial not as much. So the 2%, it's something that's required in the planning, or that's permitted in the Planning Act, and the 2% is for commercial, 5% is residential.
Thank you. And through you, Chair, one more. The 2% on this would be what in terms of dollars? Do we know?
Angie, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the 2% and the 5% values are based on an appraisal provided for the newly created lot. So if it's $100,000, valued at $100,000, your parkland dedication is the 2% of that.
So we just don't know what that really means until we get an appraised value of the property, which is not submitted concurrently with the application. Is that correct? Okay. All right. Just thank you.
You're learning. That's good.
Good question.
Yep. Back to the motion. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Okay. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Nicolette, on to D1324 2023 40 Front Street North.
Apologies for the delay, just pulling up my report. So in this instance, we have an application submitted for a minor variance to legalize the existing residential uses on the ground floor of an existing building in the downtown Main Street C1 zone. The lands are located on the east side of Front Street North in the block bounded by Regent Street to the north and Albert Street East to the south within the downtown Thorold Community Improvement Area. The lands comprise approximately 2,790 square meters of lot area with approximately 25 meters of frontage on Front Street North. The lands are currently developed with a 3-story apartment building originally constructed with ground floor commercial units, as is required in the downtown zone. Unlike the adjacent buildings, however, along Front Street, where the buildings are located in close proximity to the street line, this building is located approximately 24 meters from the front property line, with approximately 30 surface parking spaces located between the building and the front lot line. This therefore limits the commercial interface with Front Street, which is the intent of the official plan and zoning on the property, and makes it challenging for commercial uses to thrive without this street presence. So it's a bit of an anomaly on the Front Street North frontage, and if you're in the report, there are some street view photos and a aerial photograph illustrating this unique situation where the building is set back further than is typical of any of the buildings on Front Street. So we are in support of the minor variance to permit the use of the building for residential use, for residential purposes on the main floor because of this situation. I'll just go through one of the 4 tests of the minor variance. Is the general intent and purpose of the official plan maintained? The property is designated downtown along Front Street where the residential units are proposed, and downtown transitional at the rear of the property. So there's a split official plan designation on the property. Front Street North is also identified in policy A5.5 of the city official plan as being an intensification corridor. And this means that consideration of development proposals for residential intensification be focused on these lands in the downtown transitional, or regeneration overlay designations. In addition, the city's official plan states that the purpose of the downtown designations is to maintain and promote downtown Thorold as a focal point for commerce and hospitality. The city's vision for the downtown is being reinforced as a focal point for commerce and hospitality, and accommodates a diverse mix of commercial, residential, cultural, and social uses. This plan therefore envisions that some lands within the downtown designation may be utilized for higher density residential uses, particularly in locations or buildings that have remained vacant of commercial activity for extended periods, and which is exactly what has happened in this instance. It is therefore that the requested variance we consider the requested variance that it maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan. 2 is the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw being maintained. The subject property is zoned downtown Main Street C1 in the city of Thorold's zoning bylaw 60-2019. The C1 zone does permit residential uses, but only if they are located above or behind the commercial area. The additional 4 units located on the ground floor do not comply with this requirement, and therefore the variance is being requested to permit these units on the ground floor. In addition, the building where the units are located is setbacks 24 meters from the street line, where the zoning currently restricts the front yard setback to a maximum of 3 meters. The purpose of this requirement is to support commercial activity and engage pedestrians at the street front, thereby activating the street. Adjacent properties with the ground floor commercial uses are located within this 3-meter setback, as is typical in the downtown commercial area. Furthermore, the potential for the future commercial use on the ground floor will remain. So should the owner decide that at some point in the future that commercial uses are being reinstituted on the first floor, this will not be taken away. Accordingly, staff is of the opinion that the requested variance maintains the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, as the use is permitted and the increased setback of the building from the street lends itself more to the residential uses rather than the originally intended commercial uses. Number 3, is the variance appropriate for the development of the land? Again, because the existing building setback is further removed from the street front that is typical in the downtown situation and provides limited opportunity for engagement and pedestrian connectivity required for the viability of the commercial activity, staff is therefore of the opinion that the requested variance is appropriate in this instance for the development of the land. Or is the variance minor? Legalizing the existing uses would have little impact, as the residential uses have indeed existed for more than a decade with no known conflict or negative impacts. Therefore, it is staff's opinion that the variance is minor. We did receive some comments from Heritage Thorold, which were attached to the report. And in response to these comments, I'd just like to further add, in consideration of the 4 tests, as you know, I sound like a bit of a broken record, but the unique characteristics of this property with the building being set back so far from Front Street makes the commercial activity difficult. And this is in contrast to the adjacent and surrounding development. Additional housing units within the downtown designation are encouraged, and residential unit counts for intensification are determined to be minimum targets as assessed by the regional land needs assessment analyses. This is in response to the comments by Heritage Thorold. And number 3, the comments relating to the provincial policy statement and a place to grow. Downtown Thorold is intended to be an area for residential intensification, as stipulated in the official plan and the provincial policy statement and a place to grow. It is therefore that we recommend that the minor variance application requesting to permit the residential uses on the ground floor of an existing multiple residential dwelling be approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicolette. Who speaks on behalf, please? If you could identify yourself.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Craig Rowe from Upper Canada Consultants.
Welcome, Craig. Go ahead.
Yes, as pretty comprehensive overview by staff. I think just kind of the anecdotal items I'd add is there is a standing building order against the property because those 4 units are not in compliance. So this application is being brought forward to rectify that. It's a very unique situation where we do have that these units have been occupied for more than a decade right now. So should this application be turned down, those units would be then illegal, and the recourse would have to be that those tenants would have to be displaced, with no guarantee that the commercial units would actually be occupied by a future commercial tenant. So the way that this minor variance is structured, and the fact that we're not converting or taking away any of the desirable commercial zoning elements of this, I think it's a reasonable application to bring forward to address a long-standing existing condition, and there should be no negative impacts on the surrounding areas. The character of the building and the way the site functions is truly residential and much different than the rest of the downtown.
Craig, this never came before us before. How was it changed over to residential? Just an oversight, or?
To Mr. Chair, my understanding in discussions with the clients is that this conversion was undertaken by the owner in 2011. And that was just kind of done without the appropriate approvals, unfortunately. In discussions with the architect, the building units or the residential units themselves have been reviewed. They're up to modern, up-to-date building code for residential uses. So everything is good and safe from that perspective. It's just the use is not currently permitted under the zoning bylaw.
Thank you, Craig. Mr. Pizzo.
Angie, this came in front of us once before. Years ago. It was, pardon me? It was commercial at the time. No, it was commercial at the time, and we moved it to residential. All these years, people have been living there and the city's done nothing about it. This was approved at one time. I bet you go back in the records.
Yeah.
They were in front of us once before. John, I don't know if you were on the committee at the time.
I've been on the committee a long time. Mr. D'Angelo.
I have some grave concerns here, especially hearing that potentially this came in front of this committee. So I don't know if I can speak to it or if you want me to just defer it, because I think we need to do a bit of research if that's the case before moving forward on this. But I do have concerns because there's residential units there. Now we're trying to legalize that, but it's going against our official policy plan of the downtown area. But now we're caught in a situation we're going to displace people because they moved ahead with this. So I'd like to defer this for further information and see what recourse we have about coming up with a better solution here than just converting them to residential. It's not fitting for the downtown. It's I know every building's unique. There's buildings behind the post office that don't have direct frontage, but they're commercial buildings. That'll lead to them being turned into residential. So the impact of the decision is not just on this building, but on others in that area. That's why I'm looking for a deferral, so we have further information. But I'll withhold my deferral if there's other comments that other members have that they're looking for information. Thank you.
Chairman,
Mr. Pizzo.
I would bet any money that you go back, Craig, this has been approved once. Because I always thought, what the hell, they got commercial building way back there, so it came in front of us and we approved it. I guarantee we approved it at one time. To go from commercial to residential. Been residential for years.
Mr. DiPaolo.
Again, kind of as a new member, I think it's important that I drove by the building. I went there, I looked at it. I actually talked to one of the tenants there. And it's, the property is well maintained. This is a bit of a unicorn, I think, down there, right? And what I would like to ask Mr. Rowe, has he acted before for this applicant? And how, like, is this your first time acting for this applicant, or have you done work for this applicant before?
Mr. Rowe.
Through Mr. Chair, yes, I've represented Panoramic Properties before and am currently, however, not within the city of Thorold.
Were you, so this has been, and I guess I tend to agree with at this point that I don't think we're in a position to approve this today. And for the sake of, because like I say, the unicorn, the uniqueness of this property, the fact that it's been there for so long and that the city bylaw people haven't done anything about it is bizarre to me. So I think that this should be referred back to staff to figure this out, where it's going. I think there's an opportunity down there. Does anybody know why the bylaw is this, or the zoning does not allow for residential on the main floor?
Mr. Chairman.
Councilor D'Angelo, would you like to put your councilor hat on?
Well, it's like all the buildings on Front Street. If you allow this one, then any building on Front Street.
That's not my question. If you allow this, my question is why is the bylaw against residential? Pardon me, residential is good on the second floor and above. Why is it prohibited? Maybe, and if
It's to maintain the commercial atmosphere of the downtown.
okay, so it's just to maintain it, like, and maybe for Mr. Rowe, have you seen this at other spots, whether it be in Niagara or in Thorold, where commercial properties are repurposed for residential use on the main floor?
Mr. Rowe?
Through Mr. Chair, yes, I have. It's kind of a typical planning mechanism that you'll find in more modern official plans and zoning bylaws, where there's a prohibition on residential on the first floor within, an identified downtown or commercial area that would only allow the units to be above, or in many cases behind commercial uses at grade. So they still could be at grade in that property. So it's not something that's uncommon to see, but I have seen applications where there have been approvals granted because of the context of the site, the location of the site, and the merits of the application.
Okay. In my conversation with the tenant, he was not aware of the zoning mismatch. And when I was there, I didn't see a sign. Do you know whether the sign was posted?
Angie?
You're speaking with respect to the minor variance?
Variance,
sign?
correct. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Rowe provided me a photograph showing the sign posted on site.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to confirm that. This gentleman didn't know. To me, I think I think this file has some complexity. I think it's a little bit of a unicorn. I'm supporting the notion of a deferral just to get some clarity around, number one, was this in front of us before, and what was the approval? I think if we can go back and find that. I think also the standing building order of this, is this really minor? I'm trying to get my head around, is it really minor? I think having visited the site, I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's, I just don't want us to set a precedent that really undermines the notion of the zoning bylaw there, right? Like I just don't want to set that precedence. And that's kind of what I would ask staff for, really, to understand that. Would this potentially set a precedent for other commercially zoned properties to come in and apply for residential? And maybe that is the future with what's happening, with all the changes in building, repurposing buildings and things. It might be the future. I don't know. So that's why I'm not against the application at this point. I'm just asking for some more information. I think I'm afraid of some unintended consequences in the future that this may set. So at this point, I think I'd like some more clarity on a couple of those things. Number one, has this been in front of us before? And what was the result? Number two, how's it gone 10 years and nobody seems to have dealt with it? Number three, would this really undermine the intent of the zoning and the overall zoning? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DiPaolo. Mr. Pizzo.
Mr. Chairman, Greg, I'm positive because I could never understand why it was commercial in there. It was always closed. There was never anything there. And it came in, I'm positive, it came in front of us. And I thought, that's a good idea. I approved it. I voted in favor of it. But like Peter says, how the hell you go 11 years, 12 years, or whatever it is, residential? What the hell is a bylaw?
Sorry, I need to comment. I don't think it's fair, I don't think it's like, this is all, to me, makes, common sense and fairness for the applicant to put in writing that it now becomes if we don't approve this, all of a sudden it's almost like we're having evicted people that live there. That is grossly unfair to be put in the application, in my opinion, when we had nothing to do with it at this point, and it's being presented to us today to approve something that is illegal and going to have a consequence on people living there. That is grossly unfair to put in this application. That's also a comment that I want to put on there. This committee has no bearing, should have no bearing on whether people get evicted from that because someone has contravened the existing zoning.
Mr. D'Angelo.
Well, just to add to that information I'm looking for, has the required building permits been applied for when these units were converted to make sure they meet code? And the other one too is I'd like to see the vacancy rate of commercial buildings in downtown Thorold, because that impacts if there's no vacancy. And then just in essence of the sign, when I did my site visit, the sign's actually located on the city boulevard by a tree because there's no grass. So if you look right by the parking, it's hard to, unless you're looking for it, you won't see it. But the sign was there just to confirm that. So yeah, I think there's too many unanswered questions right now to move forward with any type of decision. So I'd like to see some further information come back. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So I'll make that deferral then, that we defer.
You
this.
make a motion to defer?
That's correct.
Non-debatable. All in favor? See you next month, Craig. So we're moving on to other business. Counselor D'Angelo, do you have a report to bring forward on remuneration changes to
Yeah,
committee?
sorry that I arrived here just on time, but I do, if I can hand out a sheet, there was a motion passed by council that had 7 recommendations in it. Yeah, if you could deliver those. But basically, I'll let the committee just take a quick look at it, but basically what council supported was the reimbursement of mileage. Similar to what's in the council policy. So they have reinstituted mileage. They've also maintained, because it wasn't in the terms of reference, that we just wanted to make sure items were cleared up. The education and training opportunities are still being paid for by the city. That the membership fee is still being reimbursed by the city, and that there is now a section very comparable or identical to what Thorold Council policy is regarding per diems when attending seminars, workshops, or conferences to compensate those that have to take a day off work. And then also that these are being applied retroactive to the beginning of this particular term of council in this committee. And that there's going to be an overall review of the Thorold Committee adjustments in relation to the other municipalities, just to make sure that the reimbursements are very similar to what other municipalities or members are getting. And I know this is what the committee was asking for, was the reimbursement of mileage, but there was a few other items as part of the housekeeping process. There was no debate at council. They supported it unanimously.
And this is passed or?
That has passed on September 12th, council meeting. So these are we passed the bylaw to enact it also.
Thank you. First of all, thank you on behalf of the committee for taking this on as a counselor / committee member. Thanks very much. Just a small point. Item number 3, our provincial association is OACA,
Yes.
if that matters. Who all are members of OCA on this committee? Just the two of us. Okay, fine. Just wondered.
So Mr. Chair, I look at you in terms of how
I wondered how many people were members of OCA.
I think we're all members once we register.
yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's what I say.
Yeah.
So you've registered,
I get,
you have as well? Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good. Just wondered.
I get job listings all the time, come to my email.
Oh, you're considering moving to the Laurentians? That's the one I got the other day.
I said, I'm sure you got them too.
Yeah.
This,
Well, that's good.
yeah, I keep wanting to call you Mr. Mayor, but Mr. Chair. I think this is good for new members to join. There's information that's always being provided. So Mr. Paulo, if you have an opportunity, I would join it.
How do I do that? Go to the website.
yeah.
I just join.
Simple as that.
Initially, there was some training and then we didn't. then we did.
Can't answer to what happened with that, but you can certainly join. Anybody can join.
Yeah, no, I,
And that fee, there is one, will be.
yeah.
Yes, city pays for that. Yes.
You just have to give part of the committee adjustment for your city.
Yeah.
That's the only requirement.
And yeah, so it's but I'm looking at you, Mr. Chair. How do you like, are we in terms of expenses, do you want us to flow through our secretary treasurer with expense reports then to so
That makes sense. That's why
maybe,
she's there.
if our Ms. Nesmith can send out that expense form for mileage? And
Do you want to hand
Yeah.
those out today or just send them out?
Beginning
How do you
of
want to handle
December.
it?
yes,
Okay.
Chairman, I thought there was one fee for the violence for the.
They changed that, I guess.
yeah, it was consistent with the city of council policy. That's why it goes to a per kilometer. It's a reimbursement, so it's non-taxable. It's just reimbursing you for your expenses.
Yeah.
If you get an allowance, it becomes taxable for you. So there's, yeah, so.
None of us have.
And so that's, yeah, so we can move forward with that's in here. And then, the other resolution that's important to this committee that's, will apply to them is if a member wishes to attend a conference, workshop, or seminar, it has to be approved by the committee, prior to the attendance of that, conference, seminar, or workshop by the resolution of this committee here. And we've done that in the past where we've announced that there's a conference, because again, we don't send everyone. We want everyone to get educated, but we're all here for 4 years. So it's a good opportunity to go to it. We don't need to send all the members. Sometimes 1 or 2 go on behalf of the committee and it sort of rotates around. So that's also as a resolution too, so that we need to deal with that when there's a conference or seminar or workshop coming up.
Well,
That's
there's,
beyond the training component of it. And I know that's something that we need to sort of focus on for the newer members, is look into what's going on with that training, because I know it was supposed to be scheduled and then there were some issues. So maybe if we could do a follow-up on the training component.
Ashley can handle that for us.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. We're meeting internally. Staff, we're working on putting together some training and hopefully I'll have an update for you guys.
Okay,
Great.
yeah, because I know part of the training was supposed to be scheduled through
Okay.
OCA, the extra letter there. So, yeah, so there's some there, and then there's some internal training too, of the way the committee works here too, so.
I was a big supporter of conferences and seminars. I think it's great. We have a seminar coming up
Yes.
next month.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that, Mr. Chair, that the 2023 OCA seminar is coming up, which is dated
12th and 13th.
yes, it's basically it's the 13th registration. The whole most of the event is on the 13th with all the workshops and seminars regarding that. And I know I'm interested in going. I just have to confirm it with my schedule and
What's going on here? Why don't we know about this stuff?
You have to be a member of OCA to get the mailings.
yeah, do you not read your emails?
No, he doesn't get it. He's not a member.
Oh,
of
he's
OCA.
not a member? Okay, yeah. That's why I'm bringing it to, Mr. Chair, that's why
Yeah.
I'm bringing it forward here at the committee. It was emailed to us. I'm bringing it forward. I have copies of, I printed off the registration if anyone's interested. The timeline's running out. You have till September 27th to register for this. That's why with the new policy, we should put a recommendation today for those that are interested. They may or may not go depending on their schedule because of the timing. Obviously, we should have discussed this a little sooner, but because of meeting timing schedule and the fact that it wasn't in our terms of reference, that's why it was sort of left off. But I know I'm interested in attending. I don't know if any other members. I have a copy of the workshops that are going to be it basically is the Friday, the 13th of, oh, great day. And it starts 7 in the morning and runs to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They have workshops throughout the whole day on different topics, and they have the topics in here. There is registration the night before and a welcome reception, but that's, that's part of the conference, but not necessarily that essential, right? You can show up there that evening and then just be participating the next day. So, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure where you want to leave it at here, but maybe poll the rest of the committee here and see if anyone else is
I
interested.
think we need to decide today.
We need to put something at least with intent of interest of going.
Well, is there anyone interested or maybe more importantly available? Well, we have to put it to a vote and see if anybody else is interested.
Yeah.
Or do you want to just say we can send to?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. If you want, just leave it open-ended in those, I can't guarantee right now if my schedule fits, because I've just been working on this, so, but I'd like to attend, but I'll know in a day or so for sure. Friday, the 13th is the actual seminar, but the 27th is the deadline for registration. And they do say there's a limit that once they reach maximum capacity, they will stop taking, so the sooner the better. But Mr. Chair, yeah, I can put a motion on the floor that we send 2 of the committee members that fit their schedule to attend.
I think that's a great motion, but I would include a hotel room before, because nobody's going to drive into Toronto at 8
Yes,
o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, just to be clear, yeah, it would be wise to get there the night before, because yeah, you're not gonna get there for 7 o'clock in the morning unless you leave at 12 o'clock at night.
No,
So it does make sense that there is a hotel. Now, the rates for that are changing because again, the deadline was yesterday for the hotel registration, but they may still honor that. So the
I think they
sooner
might.
members are available to go. So is there any, like, I know I'm interested. Is there any other members that are interested if they can work their schedule?
Mr. Pizzo. Well, I think we're staring at them.
I could definitely comment on that. I've taken up the head coaching position for my daughter's hockey team, and we're on the ice Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I can't leave the girls
That's fair.
without a coach. So I mean, weekends, Fridays and weekends really for me are not. I got to think of the kids.
Apollo, you are,
Can I check my schedule and get back to you? Certainly, anytime I can educate myself better, I think these
well, it's
things are really
important with all the
awesome.
changes.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely excited and thrilled for the opportunity, and I would love to go, but let me double check where I'm going to be on October the 13th. And if we can go up, we can even carpool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want the last one. I didn't.
And save the carbon footprint.
Yes.
Oh, God, let's not go there. I don't know whether any staff are going or not. Do you know?
I'm working on that.
Okay. But your money comes out separately, so.
So the motion is gonna like, is for, to register for two? Is that what we're
No,
doing?
you're gonna have to register yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But up to two.
I think that's reasonable, given the opportunity to the new members first.
Mhm.
Is great. One's declined it because of work commitments. That he'll be able to go to the next available one that's, will be offered the next available one. They have a spring one usually and a fall one.
Yeah, there's a full conference in the spring. That's a little more beneficial, but the only thing with the seminar is they're gonna deal with the new bill, and I think that's important because it's changing all the time.
Yeah, and it, as in the past, I attended one of these via video conference and I do bring back the information to the rest of the committee.
No, of course.
So we'll do this, whoever attends this should do that also, is bring back information. It's an education process for the whole committee.
Do I reply to you, Mr. Chair, if I'm
Yeah,
gonna be able
because
to go?
if you're not gonna go, I'll go.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll give me 48 hours and I'll figure it out and let you know.
You got 47.
Thank you.
Mr. Jackson.
Just to comment on this, John, these seminars, I went to the last one and I found it very helpful. They address things that haven't come across our plate here. Some that hadn't back when I went, but did crop up later, and it was very helpful to have that information. So I think it's certainly worthwhile for someone to attend.
Great.
Just one more thing, maybe
Sure.
over to Henry. I don't have this in front of me, Henry. Was there a September 20th cutoff for something?
That was for the hotel rate, was September 20th. Today's the 21st, so if whoever's going can arrange that hotel quickly, maybe they'll still
okay.
still honor. It went up, I think, $20 or $25, and they didn't guarantee the.
I just didn't know if that'd be an issue or not, so.
No, the September 27th is the issue. That's the final day for registering for the workshop
Okay.
itself. Yeah.
Could I ask Henry for the email that he has so I could have that information?
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can do that. And also, Mr. Chair, I haven't confirmed my schedule 100% too, so I'll reply to you if I cannot make it.
Okay.
And then if Mr. DiPaolo can make it, you can then take the other spot if so, yeah,
Yeah.
or another member, like it's.
Yeah.
It's good to send two individuals up there, so if
Definitely.
I can't, I'll let you know. I'll do mine in 46 hours, so that,
As a
so that
shot.
we have an
As a
answer.
shot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I've lost my agenda. Oh, here it is. Next meeting. When's the next meeting, Madam Secretary?
Mr. Chair, sorry to clarify, is there going to be a motion put on the floor for the sending of
I'm sorry, I thought we did.
two committee members?
Those,
Cover a hotel stay? We'll need a mover and a seconder and a vote.
thank you, Mr. DeBono.
I'll make that motion that
and
we,
mileage.
that two
Well,
members.
that's all automatic, the
Yeah.
mileage and
Yeah, the two members can, if two members can attend, once they notify the chair, those members can notify the chair and we'll move forward
up,
with
up to two
up to two
members.
members. Yeah.
Maybe no one can go. Mr. DiPaolo. you'll
I'm
second?
second. Yeah.
Further discussion? Seeing none? All in favor? Yep.
Commercial buildings downtown, you're allowed to put an apartment. It's 50-50.
No. They're permitted above, behind, or below. Not necessarily. Not necessarily 50-50. They're permitted either above your commercial unit, behind it, or below it. It could be, your commercial portion could be 25% of the building. And the remainder,
Ground floor.
but they're not permitted at the ground front
Not on the
floor.
ground floor.
So it could be more than 50%, you're saying?
My assumption is that it could be, but I'm not a planner, so I can't confirm that for you.
I think it's it's the frontage of the building. So if the frontage, say, is 50 feet and then your storefront's only 10, behind that could be,
Yeah.
so it could be like 20% or it could be 80%. Yeah, I don't think I don't think they work by percentage. They just work by frontage. So like the first step out to the building is frontage of the street.
Mr. D'Angelo.
just on a separate note, council also, through discussion of the report regarding, membership to the committee, to replace the member that we have lost. Council has endorsed, a recommendation that, it'll be, advertised for that position. So if anyone has anyone or, wants to mention it, they would apply online through the city. And then council will make a decision. They were filling, if any other people would like to join any other committees, there's 5 or 6 committees that are short some individuals. Just apply online and council will then go through the applications at that point in time. I would probably say maybe 1 or 2 council. I'm not sure when the deadline is for applications, but it may be a month or so before we get a new member that's assigned to this committee.
You don't think there'll be a new member for the next meeting, give or?
I'm not sure when the deadline was for the applications,
I'm
then
not
it has to go to council. So there's the council dates, that wasn't specifically clear, lined out in the report. It was just that they will be advertising. So I don't-
Nicholas?
I don't-
Through you, Mr. Chair, just to provide a bit more information on Councillor DeAngela's point, the deadline to apply, and it's posted online, is September 27th.
September 27th.
Yes, September this month, 27th. The plan is for that to come to council in October. There's 2 meetings in October, October 3rd and October 24th.
So it could be decided at the October 3rd meeting.
Potentially.
But by November,
Okay. In other words, ain't gonna happen. Okay, thank you. Any other new business, folks? Ashley, are you going to introduce our new people? These bright, clean faces, we'll beat them down pretty quickly.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Please welcome Connor, our new planner, and Elizabeth, our student planner. They can
Welcome.
introduce themselves if they like.
Good morning, everybody. City's newest planner with the development services and looking forward to working with everybody here.
Welcome, Connor.
Good morning. I'm Elizabeth. I'm the co-op student. I'll be here until the end of December, so looking forward to working with you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Could
Mr. DiPaolo.
could I ask, maybe you give us just a minute about yourselves, where you live, what your background is, what school you're going to? Maybe I'll start with ladies first, Elizabeth, and then go to you, Connor, if that's okay.
Sure thing. I'm at the University of Waterloo. I'm in my 4th year for planning. I'm from Niagara. I live in Grimsby. So it was nice coming home and being able to have a job here and being able to experience Niagara municipalities again. I worked at Welland for a bit for a previous co-op, so yeah, a bit about myself.
Okay, you're finished grilling these people or? Connor, my gosh.
Yeah, so my name's Connor McIsaac, born and raised in St. Catharines. Was a resident of Thorold actually while going to Niagara College. Last approximately 5 years, I worked in the private consulting field, doing planning as well as engineering in downtown St. Catharines. So yeah. Thank you.
Mr.
I
Yang,
just want to welcome you guys. I think it's great. As it's been noted several times, we're the 4th fastest growing city in Ontario and the 7th fastest growing city in Canada. So additional planning staff is welcomed from this committee standpoint, and also from the city standpoint of the planning department. So welcome aboard.
well, good, well done. Now, welcome, both of you. And Elizabeth, you get your application in quickly. Anything else, folks? Motion, oh, Mr. DiPaolo.
Just one last thing. These meetings are recorded, correct?
That's right.
Where do they go after?
YouTube.
And does the recording stay for a while? Like, is there a period of time?
Forever.
Forever?
Sure.
Go back in, watch it in 1977.
Really?
It was one.
Okay, I didn't know that they stayed forever. Just try to,
For the rest of your life.
all right. That was my last question. Then I'd like to make the motion to adjourn if we can.
Next meeting's October 19th, Madam Secretary? Third Thursday.
Third Thursday in October.
It's the 3rd Thursday. Is that right? Who's got a calendar?
Mr. Chair, it is October 19th, 3rd Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. DiPaolo?
I'd like to move to adjourn the meeting then.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Well done, folks.